That's good. That's strange, right? Do a quick little sound check. Sound service. Testing.
Every day.
All right, let's go. All right, Shalom Israel. Shalom Yabashim Yashab Thumb to the brothers. Shalom Yahashim Bashim Yashab to the sisters. We are the Isupk Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge, started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander General Yohana, and we are not affiliated with any other Hebrew Israelite group. We are the home of the truth, and we've been teaching the truth that all so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans are the true biblical Israelites since 1969.
Right.
So now, with that being said, all right, we're gonna get started. The topic today mostly is going to be talking about having faith during hardship. You know, we're going to be going over how certain brothers were detained and still had faith in the Lord. So with that being said, we're going to get started. So me and the brother up here, my name, just me and him. And today, we are going to be calling up a priest. We're going to be calling up priest and officer Isupk. Station registry. So.
Isupk, Ban Yash, Yahawada, Ban Yasharala.
Isupk, Ban Yahawada, Ban Yashala.
Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahshua Barakatah.
Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahshua Barakatah.
Sorry.
La Yasharala.
Sorry, me. Sorry. Amadyam upon Yahakwadam, which means to rise or stand and face the east. Sisters, remember to have your heads covered. Brothers, remember to have your heads uncovered when doing the prayers and attending class. With that being said, we're going to get started with the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. Abanawa.
Shabbat Shemayim. Kodash. Hayah. Shamka. Yahweh. Malakaka. Taba'ah. Ratazaka. Hayah. Aisha. Ba'aratza. Awah. Hayah. Bashamayim. Latanyanawa. Lakam. Call. Yawam. Wasalaknawa. Kabawafnawa. Wasalaknawa. Kabawafinawa. Taba'ah. Tabayanawa. Badasayawa. Abashaynawa. Mayan. Ra. Kaya. Galaka. Amalakwa. Wala Allah. Watapara. Awalanyam. Aman.
The Lord's Prayer in English. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yahweh, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. In earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day, our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory,
and the glory
forever.
Forever.
So be it.
So be it.
Amen.
Hakak, which is the power in the Hebrew. Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Ba'ashem.
Ba'ashem.
Yahushai.
Yahushai. Bakusha.
Lafadlanawa.
Lafadlanawa.
Hakak.
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 Larapa'a.
Labra'a.
Call.
Call.
Makala.
Makala.
Call.
Wakal.
Madawa.
Madawa.
Hakak.
Hakak.
Atahar.
Atahar.
Ha.
Ha.
Matazariah.
Matazariah.
Hakak.
Hakak.
Lahakwai.
Lahakwai.
Amathim.
Amathim.
Hakak.
Hakak.
Ow.
Ow.
Wa.
Wa.
Tama'ala.
Tama'ala.
Ba'ashem.
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 Yahushai.
Yahushai.
Water.
Water.
Amen.
Amen. The power in the English. Yahweh.
Yahweh.
In the name of Yahweh Shai.
In the name of Yahweh Shai.
Please give us the power.
Please give us the power.
The power to heal.
The power to heal.
All manner of sickness.
All manner of sickness.
And all manner of disease.
And all manner of disease.
The power to cleanse the lepers.
The power to cleanse the lepers.
The power to raise the dead.
The power to raise the dead.
The power against unclean spirits.
The power against unclean spirits.
To cast them out.
To cast them out.
In the name of Yahweh Shai.
In the name of Yahweh Shai.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So be it.
So be it.
The blessings in the Hebrew. Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahweh.
Wa Yahweh Shai.
Wa Yahweh Shai.
Wa Miyaka Allah.
Wa Ma'aka Allah.
Wa Alahayim.
Wa Alahayim.
Zad Ya'ab.
Wa Zad Ya'ab.
Alawap Yahana.
Alawap Yahana.
Ha'alawapim.
Ha'alawapim.
Hasawanyim.
Hasawanyim.
Hakwatazayoyim.
Hakwatazayoyim.
Hakayayoyim.
Hakayayoyim.
Waha'akwafim.
Waha'akwafim.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Ba'ashem.
Ba'ashem. Yahweh Shai.
The water.
The water.
Amen. The blessings in the English. Bless you, Yahweh.
Bless you, Yahweh.
And Yahweh Shai.
And Yahweh Shai.
And Michael.
And Michael.
And the angels.
And the angels.
Commanding General Yahweh.
Commanding General
The
Yahweh.
generals.
The generals.
The captains.
The captains.
The officers.
The officers.
The troopers.
The troopers.
And the sisters.
And the sisters.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
In the name of Yahweh Shai.
In the name of Yahweh Shai.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So be it.
So be it.
Psalms 121 in the Hebrew. Asha'ah.
Asha'ah.
Ayanya.
Ayanya.
All.
Ahayim.
Yun.
Mayan.
Yaba'ah.
Yaba'ah.
Zoya.
Isaiah.
Zoya.
Isaiah.
Ya'im.
Ya'im.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Shah.
Shah.
Shemayim.
Shemayim.
Ratazah.
Ratazah.
All your thun.
Ayathan.
Namawat.
Namawat.
Gorka.
Wagalka.
All.
All.
Yanawam.
Yanawam.
Shamarka.
Shamarka.
Lanat. La'ah.
La'ah.
Yanawam.
Yanawam.
Wala'ah.
Wala'ah.
Yayashun.
Yayashun.
Shamar.
Shamar.
Yasha'ala.
Yasha'ala.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Shamarka.
Yahweh.
Zorka.
Tazarka. Ayad.
Yanka.
Yanka.
Yanawam.
Yanawam.
Hashamash.
Hashamash.
La'ah.
La'ah.
Yakaka.
Yakaka.
Bayrak.
Bayrak.
Balayallah.
Balayallah.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Shamarka.
Yashamarka.
Call.
Call.
Rai.
Rai.
Yashamar.
Yashamar.
Athna Pashka.
Athna Pashka.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Yashamar.
Yashamar.
Taza
Taza'afka.
Wabba Wa'af.
Wabba Wa'aka.
Maitha.
Maitha.
Wa'ai.
Wa'ai.
I will love.
I will love.
Psalms 121 in the English. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills.
I will lift up mine eyes into the hills.
From whence cometh my help?
From whence cometh my help?
My help cometh from the Lord,
My help cometh from the Lord,
which made heaven and earth.
which made heaven and earth.
He will not suffer thy foot to be moved.
He will not suffer thy foot to be moved.
He that keepeth
He
thee
that keepeth thee
will not slumber.
will not slumber.
Behold,
Behold,
he that keepeth Israel
he that keepeth
shall
Israel
not stumble,
shall not slumber
nor sleep.
nor sleep.
The Lord is thy keeper.
The Lord is thy keeper.
The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand.
The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand.
The sun shall not smite thee by day,
The sun shall not smite thee by day,
nor the moon by night.
nor the moon by night.
The Lord shall preserve thee
The Lord shall preserve thee
from all evil.
from all evil.
He shall preserve thy soul.
He shall preserve thy soul.
The Lord shall preserve thy going out
The Lord shall preserve thy going out
and thy coming in
and thy coming in
from this time forth
from this time forth
and even
and even
forevermore.
forevermore.
Psalms 83. Hebrews. Alahayim.
Alahayim.
All.
All.
Damiyah.
Damiyah.
Laka.
Laka.
All.
All.
Zakarash.
Zakarash.
All.
Wa'al.
Shakwat.
Hashakwat.
All.
All.
Kaya.
Kaya.
Hana.
Hana.
Awayabika.
Awayabika.
Yahama.
Yahama.
Yawan.
Yawan.
Ra'ash.
Ra'ash.
I'll.
I'll.
Amaka.
Amaka.
Ya'ayamwa.
Ya'ayamwa.
Sawada.
Sawada.
Wa'ita.
Wa'ita.
Tazawa.
Yatazawa.
I'll.
I'll.
Tazapawanyaka.
Tazapawanyaka.
Amarwa.
Amarwa.
Wakawa.
Wakawad.
Wadakakidum.
Wadakakidum.
Magoya.
Magoya.
Wala'ah.
Wala'ah.
Yazakar.
Yazakar.
Shum.
Shum.
Yasha'ala.
Yasha'ala.
Awada.
Awada.
Kaya.
Kaya.
Nawa.
Nawa.
Atazawa.
Atazawa.
Laba.
Yakadwa. Ayaka. Waya. Yakawathwa. Yahiwa. Adawam. Wa. Yashma'alim. Mawa'aba. Yagawan. Gabal. Maiwan. Mamalak. Palashah. I'm Yeshabia. Tazawar. Come. I shall war. Not a wa. I am on. I was. Sarwa. Labunya. Lawat. Salah. Aisha. Lahum. Kambayam. Kasaya. Sara'ah. Kayabyam. Banakal. Kayashwan. Neshabawa. Bayan. Dawa. Iowa. Daman. Ladama. Shayatamwa. Lada. Yamawa. Kara. Because of Abba. Because of Ba. Because of Zamana. Call. Nasayakama. Ashar. Amarwa. Yamasha. Nanawa. Nawa. Alhayam. Alhaya. Shayatamwa. Gagogala. Quash. Lapanya. Kaash. Tabaira. Yaira. Wa. Kalahaba. Sarat. Hayam. Kun. Taradama. Asa-Arika. Wabasa. Wapafka. Tabalam. Mala'ah. Palaham. Kalawam. Waya. Bakashwa. Shamka. Yahawa. Yabashwa. Waya. Bahawa. Ayai. Waya. Kapawa. Wayabawa. Wayadawa. Kayata. Shamka. Yahweh. Yabaka. Aliwam. Alcohol. Ha'aratazah.
Psalms 83 in the English. Keep not thy silence, O God.
Keep not thy silence, O God.
Hold not thy peace.
Hold not thy peace.
And be not still, O God.
And be not still, O God.
For lo, thine enemies make a tumult.
Thy enemies make a tumult.
And they that hate thee, have lifted up the head.
Have lifted up the head.
They have taken crafty counsel.
They have taken crafty counsel
against thy people.
Against thy people.
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
They have said.
Come.
And let us cut them off.
And let's cut them off.
Being a nation.
From being a nation.
That the name of Israel.
That the name of Israel.
May be no more in remembrance.
Maybe no more in remembrance.
For they have consulted together. With one consent.
With one consent.
They are confederate against thee.
They are confederate against thee.
Tabernacles of Edom.
The tabernacles of Edom.
And the Ishmaelites.
And the Ishmaelites.
Of Moab. And the Hagarenes.
And the Hagarenes.
The Baal. And Ammon. And Amalek. The Philistines. With the inhabitants of Tyre.
With the inhabitants of Tyre.
Assur also is joined with them.
Assur is also joined with them.
They have hope in the children of Lot.
They have hope in the children of Lot.
Salah. Do unto them. As unto the Midianites.
As unto the Midianites.
As to Sisera.
As to Sisera.
As to Jabin.
As to Jabin.
At the brook of Kasam.
At the brook of Kasam.
Which perished at Endor.
Which perished at Endor.
They became as dung for the earth.
They became as dung for the earth.
Make their nobles like Orel.
Make their nobles like Orel.
And like Zaid.
Like Zaid.
Yea. All their princes as Zabah.
As the princes as Zabah.
And as Zamudah.
As Zamudah.
Who said, let us take to ourselves.
Let us take to ourselves.
The houses of God in possession.
The houses of God in possession.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Make them like a wheel.
Make them like a wheel.
As the stubble before the wind.
As the stubble before the wind.
As the fire burns the wood.
As the fire burns the wood.
And as the flame set up the mountains on fire.
And as the flame set up the mountains on fire.
So persecute them.
Persecute them.
With thy tempest.
With thy tempest.
And make them afraid.
And make them afraid.
With thy storm.
With thy storm.
Fill their faces with shame.
Fill their faces with shame.
That they may seek thy name.
That they may seek thy name.
Oh Lord.
Oh Lord.
Let them be confounded.
Let them be confounded.
In trouble.
In trouble.
Forever.
Yea.
Let them be put to shame.
Let them be put to shame.
And perish.
That
men may know.
That
thou. Whose name alone. Is Yahweh. Art the most high. Over all the earth. Sorry. All right, you may be seated. Oh. All right, so we're going to begin the book of Genesis, chapter 39, and verse 2. So, for anybody who doesn't know, we start the Sabbath service. We start the first 7 verses in the Hebrew, and then you break it down into the English. So, this is the book of Genesis, chapter 39, verse 2. Way up.
Yahweh Ara'af, Ya Ta'ab, Yahweh Ayash, Matazah La'am, Yahweh Kabayaf, Adunya, Amatazarah, Ya Wayara'ah, Adunya, Ya, let's see, Yahweh Afya, Yabal, Ashar, Aisha, Yahweh, Matazah, Matazah Kada'a, Ya Mataza'ah, Ta'an, Ka'az, Ka'ayan Ya'a, Yasharaf, Atha, Yapaquad Da'a, I'll Kayatha'a, Yaba'or, Ya'ash, La'a, Natha'a, Kada'an, Yahweh, Ma'ab, Apaquad, Atha, Kabayatha'a, Ya'al, Kor, Ashar, Ya'ash, La'ab, Yabad, Yahweh Af, Kayah, Hamatazara'ah, Kagogala, Yata'a, Ka'af, Yahweh, Kaba'or, Ashar, Ya'ash, La'a, Ka'af, Yabashada'a, Ya'aiza'a, Ka'or, Ashar, La'a, Kaya, Atan, Yala'a, Adai, Afya, Matazah Ma'a, Ka'a, Af, no, Slakia, Halaka'am, Ashar, Haya, Ka'or, Yahweh, Ata'an, Yapa'a, Athad, Yapa'an, Mara'ah, Yahweh, Ka'ar, Adamara, Adabarayam, Kala'ah, Athasha'ah, Ashaf, that is the last one. Adanya, Ayanya, or Ata'an, Athama'a, Shaba'a, Aima.
All right, that's it. 39, 2 through 9. Yeah, 2 through 9.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 39 and verse 2. And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. And Joseph found grace in his sight. and he served him, and he made him overseer over his house, and all that he had he put into his hand. And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptians, that the Lord blessed the Egyptians' house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not aught he had, save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, Lie with me. But he refused and said unto his master's wife, Behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he hath to my land.
So if I could, right quick, I just recap. So like the Lord was with Joseph, right? But at this time, like he's serving under an Egyptian. Now it said that Joseph was a goodly man, and this is like it pretty much got to the point before I could even get it out. A perfect example: his master's wife approached him, pretty much said like, "Come lie with me," but because of Joseph's character, he's just like, "No, like I'm not gonna do that. Like that's a sin. I'm not about to sit here and mess around with you. You are a woman that belongs to another man." So this just shows Joseph's character and that the Lord was with him, even though he was a servant to an Egyptian.
Right.
You can go to
Precept.
Oh, you got precept?
And if I may,
go ahead.
What made Joseph a goodly person is the law, statutes, and commandments. We can prove that in Romans 7 and 12. The book of Romans chapter 7, verse 12. Wherefore the law is holy, and the commandment holy, and just, and good. Things like that keeps a brother, even in captivity, it keeps a brother prosperous and well valued in this horrible world. When you keep the law, statutes, commandments, you see what happens. The Lord will make things happen for you. You see what happens, man. We're just giving you examples.
Right.
Let's go.
You have verse 8? Oh, yeah, you have verse.
I'm at work. Yeah, I'm at verse. There is none greater in this house than I, neither have he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?
So again, it shows the character of who Joseph was. Even though he was a servant,
right?
He was serving under an Egyptian. This is a heathen. This is a heathen. And if I could, before, because we're about to jump somewhere else, this is a perfect precept to show there's some brothers out there, fake Israelites, who think that it is okay to sleep with another man's wife as long as he's a heathen. No. The law stands firm with all. It doesn't matter if it's an Asian person or a white person.
Right.
Like, put it like this. As much as it pains us to see it, if you see someone from our nation, you see a sister, and she got a white man, even though it's painful to see, that's still her husband.
Yep.
You do not try to sleep with that sister. This isn't on some, oh, well, she with a heathen, so it's okay. No. You still can't do it. It's like, that's all I got on that. But so we got through verses 2 through 9. If I could, you jump to verse 20. So Genesis 39 and 20.
The book of Genesis, chapter 39 and verse 20. And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound, and he was there in the prison. But the Lord was with Joseph.
It said, what happened?
But the Lord was with Joseph.
The Lord was with Joseph. What?
And showed him mercy, and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison, and whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. Okay,
No, I'm not saying you want to.
I just want to add on to that.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Genesis 39:2, and the Lord was with Joseph. And then you go to Genesis 39:21, but the Lord was with Joseph. You know what I mean? We're talking about a man who's establishing righteousness, and pretty much he's showing his character within the realms of being in captivity,
right,
and then being in prison. But the Lord was with Joseph. So you think of a man being in captivity and a man being in prison, and the Lord was with him. You know what I mean? That sounds like an oxymoron right there. You know what I mean? It doesn't sound like the Lord's with Joseph because he's
right
in captivity and then he's in prison. But the Lord's with Joseph. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to keep that perspective, because that is a heavy precept in both those terms right there. Like, keep that perspective. The Lord was with Joseph regardless of whatever the aspects or the situations that he was in. You know what I mean? He was with him. He didn't leave Joseph only because Joseph was in a bad predicament. He was in a bad place.
Right.
You know what I mean? Joseph still kept his character, and the Lord never left Joseph. You know what I mean? Those are two heavy topics right there. You know what I mean? When we look at our situations, when we look at the things that we go through, you know what I mean? We think that, you know what I mean? Naturally, we start to think that the Lord's not with us because we're going through something that may seem like a burden to us. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, what is the outcome of the situation? What happened with Joseph? Joseph ended up being he was the head of the situation when it came to him being in captivity, and he was the head of the situation when it came to him being in prison. You know what I mean? Like, and then not just that, the Lord was blessing those around him just because of the sake of Joseph. You know what I mean? That all goes in perspective. You know what I mean? Joseph's not sitting there complaining about his situation. He's not complaining about the aspect that he's in. You know what I mean? He's not sitting there saying, "Oh yeah, well the Lord must have forsaken me because I'm in prison, because I'm in captivity."
Right.
Joseph kept on going and kept on doing what needed to be done. You know what I mean? Regardless of whatever the situation was. And that's a real heavy situation. You know what I mean? Like, it takes a true person who really fears the Lord to look at their situation, as dire as it may be, and still be like, you know what I mean? The Lord is with me. The Lord is with me. You know what I mean? And then,
it's like if I could, I wanted to if I could get we're gonna get back to that. I wanted to get 1 Peter 1:7 real quick, if I could. You got that for me, a lot of stuff.
God damn. Here we go. What you said? 1:7?
Yeah, 1:7.
Hey, the book of 1 Peter, chapter 1, verse 7. That the trial of your faith, so like, let me start at 6.
Go ahead.
Wherein ye greatly rejoice, though now for a season, if need be, ye are in heaviness through manifold temptations.
Manifold temptations. That could apply to a lot of things, but of course, the main topic right now is, you know, a brother who was in prison, a brother who was in confinement,
right?
You know, who was stripped of everything, his freedom, right? And here we free. That's a whole different topic. I'll leave that for another day. My point being is the average so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American is not free. Right? You can have everything taken from you at any given moment. Go ahead.
Verse 7, that the trial of your faith,
going,
being much more precious than of gold that perisheth, though it be tried with fire, might be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearing of Jesus Christ.
So this is showing you, like, you're going to go through hardships. Again, people always think, you know, you come into the school for newcomers, like, oh, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to be saved, everything will be good. It's like, yeah, I mean, you're going to be saved, but the thing is, you got to endure. If I could, so like, I know you got some, Matthew 24:13.
I got you. The book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 13. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved.
That's it. You got to endure until the end, man. The Lord going to test you. The Lord going to test you. The Lord tested this brother right here, Joseph. The Lord tested Job.
Right.
The Lord tested Daniel
Twice.
That's like, go ahead.
If I may, I'm gonna get the book of 2 Timothy chapter 2. I'm gonna start at verse 1. Thou therefore, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Christ Jesus. You got to be strong in the grace that you have been given. The Lord could have killed you at any moment, but instead he decided to give you grace because he's long suffering and he has many mercies. The Lord is telling you to be strong in it. And the things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men who shall be able to teach others also. That's what's going on now. Brothers are teaching you what they've been taught from other brothers above them that we know have gone through things. We're showing you what's happening. Verse 3. Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Jesus Christ. You think your life was hard in the world, your life gonna be harder in here. It's gonna be harder in here because the Lord does not want cowards. He doesn't want men with excuses. In the world, when something is happening to you, you could just always have an excuse. You can be a man of excuse, which would make you a coward.
Right.
In here, there are no excuses, which makes no cowards. In here, we endure hardness. Any situation we go through, we keep the faith. We keep believing in the Lord. We keep serving the Lord. Why? We have examples. Romans 15:4. Anything that was written for our learning was written before time, was written for our learning.
Yep.
Joseph was in jail. That's what the brothers bring it up. Joseph was in captivity. Joseph was given away to be a servant, to produce slave work. And the Lord still was with Joseph. Why? Because Joseph kept the commandments of the Lord. If I may, Ecclesiasticus chapter 2, verse 10. Look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in the Lord and was confounded? These brothers trust in the Lord when you read about these brothers going to prison, but they were never confounded. Amongst other prisoners in jail, they saying, you in here with us. But what these men of the Lord are saying, I'm in here with y'all, but I'm still trusting in the Lord. Here's why. Or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken? Did any man who feared the Lord, was he ever forsaken by the Lord? No. Or whom did he ever despise that called upon him? Any man who's serving in any captivity, any hardness, any man who's getting grace and getting love from the Lord, if he calls on the Lord does not despise him. The Lord, what? He always helped that brother out. Always. Verse 11. For the Lord is full of compassion and mercy, long-suffering, and very pitiful, and forgiveth sins, and saveth in time of affliction.
There you go. What was that last part?
And saveth in time of affliction. This is what we go through. Brothers are afflicted every day. Some brothers' affliction are worse and harder than others. And other brothers could not endure what that brother is going through. But what the Lord put that brother through, he put him through because he knew that brother could make it. And your time of affliction, when you feel as though you are down and out and there's nothing else for you to do, and you feel as though you about to go commit whatever type of crime or whatever thing the world is telling you to do, persuading you to do, pressuring you to do, call on the Lord. The Lord will come save you. We know that in the Bible. We read Daniel was thrown in prison twice,
right? In
the lion's den twice, and made it out. You can't be thrown in the lion's den and make it out unless you call upon the Lord.
Damn right.
So I yield.
If I could real quick, I was like, you give me 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 4.
The book of 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 4. But in all things approving ourselves as the ministers of God, in much patience, in afflictions, in necessities, in distresses, in stripes, in imprisonments, in tumults, in labors, in watchings, in fastings, by pureness, by knowledge, by long suffering, by kindness, by the Holy Spirit, by love unfeigned, by the word of truth, by the power of God, by the armor of righteousness on the right hand and on the left, by honor and dishonor. That's a long precept.
Go ahead.
By honor and dishonor, by evil report and good report, as deceivers and yet true, as unknown and yet well known, as dying and behold, we live.
We what?
We live.
We what?
We live.
You go.
As chastened and not killed, as sorrowful yet always rejoicing, as poor yet making many rich, as having nothing and yet possessing all things. This is crazy.
Not just like if you could.
I mean, I would have had a brother repeat that, but
that was very thorough. That was a very thorough breakdown.
Man,
go ahead.
Through everything we live, you know what I mean? Through imprisonment, through chastenings, through, you know what I mean, beatings, whatever it is that you're going through, you know what I'm saying? The main key focus and the main key goal is to keep living for the Lord. You know what I'm saying? Right. You can't lose focus only because, you know what I mean, you have distractions in your way, you got burdens in your way. You know what I mean? You got a couple of roadblocks that's trying to set you off. Right. You know what I mean? Figure out a way. You know what I mean? If Joseph could sit there and serve the Lord in prison, in captivity, what is our excuse? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It says that we're not in debt. You know what I mean? The only thing that should be stopping us is debt.
Is debt.
Only thing. The only thing that should stop you is debt. It shouldn't be an excuse that, you know what I mean, your rent wasn't paid. You know what I mean? I gotta pay my rent. I gotta figure out how to, you know what I mean? Or I gotta, you know what I mean? I got an appointment.
Baby mama problem.
Either way. You know what I mean? That all those things can be distractions that are set upon you that, you know what I mean, that are pretty much unfortunate. You know what I mean? They're very unfortunate, but all in all, what are you going to do? Right. Are you going to blame God and stop serving him? Are you going to completely disown him because things are not looking in your favor?
Right. If I could, that's what at one point, that's what Job had to suffer through. You know, he had to watch everything be taken from him. His children died. His children died. And his wife still wanted him to curse the Most High.
Right.
And it's like, for somebody in the world, like how you just brought up, if I could, you know, people in the world, brothers and sisters in the world, you start to wonder, like, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? You get angry. You get emotional. You go through all this hardship. And some people, they lose it so much that they start cursing the Most High. Not understanding, if I could, I got one precept I just want to use real quick. 1 Corinthians 10:13. There hath no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man.
Come on.
But God is faithful.
Come on.
Who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able.
Come on, man.
But will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it. For those of y'all don't understand what that means, I don't want to gloss over what you brought up earlier. Everybody goes through something. Everybody. But sometimes you might look at a brother and be like, dang, like, I know I got it rough, but he got it rough.
Right.
Or somebody might look at you like that. The thing is, the Lord is going to give you what you are able to handle. You might not even realize it. You might be stronger than what you really think you are. The Lord really knows that, of course, but you might not know that. So the things you're going through, you got to understand, like, you're going through what you're going through because the Lord knows that you can get through that.
Right.
He's not going to put you through something that you can't handle. And to top it off, I'm going to read this last bit real quick. But will with the temptation, so whatever he is tempting you with, also make a way to escape.
Right.
That ye may be able to bear it. There's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Every time.
But you just gotta endure
with
whatever. And I know that might sound harsh to some people, because I mean, Israel goes through everything. We go through imprisonment. You go through losing a job, losing a loved one, losing children. That's why I brought up Job. Job lost his kids, man. I personally can't imagine that. But there are brothers and sisters who have gone through stuff like that. they made it through. That's all I got on that slide.
If I may, too. I mean, going back into like a person's situation, you know what I mean? I personally had to look into not just one man, but men's eyes who, you know what I mean, their situation was so dire to the point where they were looking at not being able to be with their families for the rest of their lives. You know what I'm saying? Being in a position where they might be sitting in prison for, you know what I mean, till the day they die. You know what I mean? And still having to tell them the Lord is with them. The Lord is with them. You know what I mean? And that situation is not bigger than what the Lord's capable of doing. Because the Lord, when he works, it's not just him working and he just, okay, well, I'm just going to handle this situation. The Lord loves to overdo something. You know what I mean? Going back on Elijah, you know what I mean, with the bullets, and you know what I mean, he said keep dumping that water until, you know what I mean, until it came
against the followers.
Yeah, and the Lord loves to overdo it. So when we give glory to the Lord, everybody can tremble and say, okay, yeah, that's the God of Israel right there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's the type of representation he wants. So when a person's situation may seem so dire to the point where it seems impossible, that's what the Lord loves. You know what I mean? He loves to work in those type of situations where it may seem impossible, so he can make it that it is possible for him. Because everything is just a grain of sand to him. Nothing is over his burial. You know what I mean? Not cases, not, you know what I mean, not the jury, not the judge. All those people work in God's favor. Right? You know what I mean? And if the Lord wants them to turn a person's situation around, he'll do it in just no time. You know what I mean? And I personally had situations where I've seen the Lord turn a person's situation who felt like they were never going to see the light of day again around, and they got to see their families. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Or they were in the motion of going to see their families. You know what I mean? Because the Lord is just not going to just make it just happen like that. You know what I mean? It's a journey that goes with. That's why he says patience makes perfect. You know what I mean? You got to have patience, and then you also have to have dignity as well. Because if you sitting over here keep on blaming the Lord for your issues, he's going to make sure that your issues become greater. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If you're going to continue to keep on saying, oh yeah, well, you know what I mean, like you must not love me like that, and yeah, you know what I mean? Because obviously you haven't learned your lesson yet. You know what I mean? You haven't learned your lesson yet. So why continue to keep on trying to find reasons to try to understand God's will? Just endure the situation that you're in. You know what I mean? Because your situation might be your personal situation, and you might be glorified for how you were able to overcome it. The way that Elijah overcome those damn 400 priests?
There's 400 false prophets of Baal.
False prophets. You know what I mean? And he stood alone. You know what I mean? Joseph stood in prison and was favored. Still, your situation does not have anything to do with how the Lord sees you. It doesn't. Right. It doesn't justify his love for you. You know what I mean? He was in captivity to prison, and then he was ruling over Egypt, and he was in rulership.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
You just have to sit back for a time and just say, you know what? It is what it is. You know what I mean? I'm not about to continue to keep on doing the things that I felt like made me happy.
Right.
What makes the Lord happy.
And if I could real quick, just like how a lot of I brought up earlier, like things that happened for time meant for our learning, just like how we're reading about men who were in confinement, who were in captivity, who were behind bars, and they still have faith in the Most High. And in the end, you know, they were rewarded for their faith in the Most High.
Anytime.
But then on the flip side, we've seen men at one point that were way greater than us. We've seen brothers like King David, King Saul, Solomon, Samson. Like we've seen brothers who had power. And what happens when you disobey the Most High, when you choose to do what you want to do.
Right.
We're talking about brothers who had everything. Like King Saul, I mean, he was the first king. Everybody know about David and Solomon and everybody, but he was the first king. He was wicked.
Right.
He was wicked as hell. And because he continued to do what he wanted to do, after all the gifts that the Most High gave him, he lost it all. He raised up a man better than him. Solomon, I mean, we already know about the story about Solomon. Solomon, again, one of the wisest men in the Bible, other than Christ, of course. And he fell to whores and heathens. And the Lord warned him. The Lord had mercy on him and warned him. He still chose to sin. He lost everything. Samson, to this day, known for his strength. At one point, his own father questioned him and said, "Do you not want a woman of your own lineage?"
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "No, I want Philistine. I want her." He chose to do what he wanted to do, and in the end, even he was taken away. So, like what this brother's bringing out is, you're supposed to endure. Like these are brothers who had nothing, who lost everything, and still did not want to curse the Most High's name.
Right.
But you take that with a grain of salt. You go through your problems. We all got problems. Like, I got problems. This brother got problems. He got problems. There's men above us that got problems. There's sisters in the school that got problems. Okay, but we all understand that we have to have faith in the Most High, because if we switch up and be like, man, F this.
Right.
I'm going to do what I want to do.
Right.
Death is knocking at your door. Right there. All it takes is that one time. You might get a little mercy. You might get a little slap on the wrist or whatever. But don't tempt the Lord, because you're going to lose. You're going to lose. The Lord is never lost. I hope you understand. Okay? So you really need to take that with a grain of salt and, really understand the graces that you do get. Like, at one time, we were being brought up out of Egypt. You had brothers complaining. I forgot the precept exactly where it's at, but I'm paraphrasing. Mm-hmm. We said, man, we better go back to Egypt.
Right.
My feet hurt. You know how it's like. You know how we complain. We'll be like, man, my feet hurt. Right. Like, oh, I ain't trying to do this, man. Like, I miss the AC. Like, I mean, my job, that Egyptian, but he was paying me decent though. I had a roof over my head at least. But he was in captivity. And you'd rather be in captivity, even though the Lord sent righteous men to save you, and you chose to turn against them.
Right.
You need to understand that, man. Don't turn your back on the Lord, especially when the Lord does not turn his back on you. That's all I got from that. I know you got a precept.
I always got a precept.
Go ahead.
At the end of the day, man, it's because you lack faith. It's because you lack faith, and you weak. You weak. I'm glad he brought up Egypt. All them brothers and sisters who had a problem with us coming out of Egypt, guess what happened to them? The Lord killed them all. The Lord killed every last single one of them. Guess what? The Lord has no problem doing that again. The Lord has no problem doing that again. He doesn't want weakness. And you're weak. You're weak. You're weak. And you have to get stronger. The only way you can get stronger is in here. The only way you can get stronger is through these scriptures. You have to fight weakness. You have to fight being a coward. You have to fight being a man of excuses. You have to fight lacking faith. That's your problem. You lack faith. And the Lord sees that you lack faith. And guess what he does to you every time? He beats your behind up. What is faith? The book of Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. The evidence of things not seen. Evidence.
That's a cut.
Evidence. You see it, but you don't know you're seeing it. He's saving you. You don't know you're being saved. You think your life is hard. The Lord can make your life a lot more harder. You lack faith, and he's going to teach you over and over and over again till you understand your faith. This is the same time when you remember Christ was walking on water? I believe that was Peter. Peter looked out there and he found out it was Christ. What Peter did? Peter walked out there, and Peter was walking on water. Guess what? Peter fell in the water, and he was drowning, and he was crying for help. How was Peter able to walk on water and then fall in the water? He walked on water because he had faith. Then he lost the faith, and he fell in the water and started drowning. And Christ saved him. over and over and over again. It's the same story. Israel had faith in the Lord. They served the Lord. Then they stopped having faith in the Lord. They lacked the faith, and they started serving these other nations. And then guess what happens? The Lord kills us, and the Lord whips our behind, and the Lord throws us in prison, and the Lord makes us slaves and servants to all these other heathens. And then guess what? Finally, your behind gets it again, and then the Lord comes save you. That's throughout the whole Bible. The Bible is about us having faith in the Lord, serving the Lord, telling the Lord we're going to serve him, turning our back on the Lord, lacking faith, going into slavery, finding faith again in the Lord saving us over and over and over and over again. You don't have to go through that. You can just have faith in the Lord. You can just keep your faith in the Lord. If I may, Hebrews 11:2, for by faith, the elders obtained a good report. Through faith, we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. If I may, verse 6, but without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. You're not understanding why you go through what you go through. You're not understanding why you're so down and out about the afflictions that you serve. You don't understand why you go through this hardness time and time again and get depressed through it all. Brothers up here are going through things, man. Sisters in the school are going through things. Brothers in the school are going through things. From the young men all the way up to the generals. We have problems. But guess what? We're not depressed. Why? Because we have faith. We know that the Lord is going to save us through our faith. That's what we do have. We ain't got a bunch of money. We ain't got a bunch of cars, clothes, women. We don't have riches, man. It's okay. We got some more than money. We have faith. That's James 2:5. The rich in faith. The Lord chose the poor in this world, rich in faith. You lack money and you lack faith. It's not going to get any better for you. And the Lord is going to keep proving that to you over and over and over again. Only way you can find the Lord is if you seek him. Only place you can seek the Lord is in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. I yield.
Let's get 1 Corinthians 9 and 19.
I got you. The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 9, 19?
9 and 19.
The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 19. For though I be free from all men, yet have I made myself servant unto all, that I might gain the more. And unto the Jews I became as a Jew, that I might gain the Jews. To them that are under the law, as under the law, that I might gain them that are under the law. To them that are without law, as without law, being not without law to God, but under the law to Christ. That's crazy. That I might gain them that are without law. 22. To the weak became I as weak, that I might gain the weak. I am made all things to all men, that I might by all means save some. Verse 23. And this I do for the gospel's sake, that I might be partaker thereof with you.
That's crazy. So, if you have to become a prisoner like Joseph, become a prisoner. Do it for the gospel's sake. If you have to become a person in poverty, living in the ghetto, do it for the gospel's sake. Save your people, because majority of us are in the ghetto.
Right.
Majority of us are in the prison. Majority of us are in hardship positions.
Right.
So why not be in a hardship position and become that, so you can be able to relate to your people and you can bring them into the truth. You know what I'm saying? Bring them into the truth of the Bible. Let them know where exactly you need to come to be able to receive the salvation that the Lord requires from all of us.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you have to become sick, talk to your people in the medical field. You know what I'm saying? Whatever, even like sick, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, you know what I mean? The Lord is going to position you where he wants you because he can use you as an example. You know what I mean? He can use you as an example of your situation transforming that something that may seem impossible, making it possible. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter what it is. You know what I mean? Whether you're in any position, whatever the position is, the work doesn't stop.
Right.
Is what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? And you don't know who's watching you. You don't know who's paying attention to the way that you move, the way that you teach, the way that you know what I mean, the way that you study. You don't know who's admiring this type of situation. You know what I mean? The Lord might want somebody and might use you to get that person back out of the world. You know what I mean? And back into grace. You know what I'm saying? Back into the truth of the matter.
Right. I wanted to touch on what you just said. Like what you said was so heavy as far as you don't know who's watching you. And like you might be put in a position and you're wondering, why am I here? You might not even know it. You might be sent to wherever it may be to go save somebody else for the Most High. Like look at Cornelius. Cornelius was serving in an Italian band. This is a brother who was serving in the oppressor's military forces, for example.
Right.
And
that's a cut.
He was sitting here and he was still trying to save his people. A lot of people think Cornelius was an Edomite. He wasn't really an Edomite.
That's crazy.
He served in the Italian band, which is
a military.
Yeah, it's a military. Just like how you serve in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, whatever. You might be sent there. You wonder, man, why am I here? You might be sent to another state. Like, if I could, real quick, like I'm not afraid to admit it. Like when I first found out about the truth, this was years ago. I knew about the truth for almost 4 years.
Right.
Did not, like, brothers kept telling me, hey, you can come to class. I was in the world. I said, I might come. But never went.
Slide. I don't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
That's almost every brother in this school. You realize this is a thing that no one wants to do. We just forced to do it. Yeah. We can't get out of my 4 years you was thinking about this.
4 years.
You in your mind couldn't go nowhere else. Man, I ain't gonna bring up my situation, but brothers, bro, you can't once you learn it and once you hear it and you understand it. I don't know how these brothers were the ones to understand it. But once you understand it, even the sisters, you're like, damn, I can't get this out of my mind. You can't be who you are in the world after you learn this because you look at everything totally different. Totally different. It's like,
if I could, it's just I bring it up. Like, I mean, these brothers, they know me, they already know. But I think about it a lot because I'm like, man, like at one point I didn't want to come.
Right.
But like you said, like it was just something about it. I just couldn't get it out of my head. Couldn't get it out of my head. And going on to what you were saying earlier, you never know who's watching. There was a brother who knew me for a very long time. He's still in the school. And anytime I see him doing his classes, I see how he changed. I remember who he was.
Right.
That old man died off. Now I see the new him. And I couldn't help but wonder, like, man, what he on?
Right.
What he on? And then I find myself started asking questions. Asking for Bible breakdowns. I didn't even read the Bible at the time.
Crazy.
Next thing you know, I go through whatever I'm going through, and finally I'm like, man, all right, I'm gonna finally try it out. But I didn't try it out until I moved to a whole other state. Now I'm here.
Right.
Because I seen what another brother was doing.
Right.
You just never know. So you should always carry yourself in a priestly manner.
Right.
And always conduct yourself as such. Even when you ain't got a UPK shirt.
Right.
You can be at Lowe's or Walmart, Target, whatever. And your countenance might just, I don't know. You never know. Might attract somebody. Hey, man,
right.
Like, they might see you with your da.
Right.
Hey, man, what's that? Oh, yeah, you give them the whole breakdown. Next thing you know, that brother in class. That's sister in class.
Crazy.
For the sisters, too. You might walk around because sisters in the UPK already carry themselves differently anyway.
Yeah, they're not horse.
Yeah, like real sisters in the school are not horse. You know, so now it's sad. Now you see a sister that's covered up, it's like a rarity now. You know, y'all out here dressing like sexy red.
That's crazy.
Meanwhile, you know, you see a sister, she's humble and modest, married, kids, happy. Might be a sister that you may know. She's like, what do you got going on? You tell her about the school.
Right.
Now she in here, and then she get married, and then she have kids. She doesn't have some already. She might have more kids. I don't know. Her life changed. You just never know, right?
Perfect precept.
Go ahead.
1 Peter. Something like it. Hold on, I got it right here.
Take time.
Yeah, 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 11 through 12. Dearly beloved, I beseech you as strangers and pilgrims, abstain from fleshly lusts which war against the soul. Verse 12. Having your conversation honest among the Gentiles, that whereas they speak against you as evildoers, they may by your good works, which they shall behold, glorify God in the day of visitation. Meaning this. Yeah, we might be looked at as niggas, man. And you know, the first thing people think we thugs, we up to no good, and we always in prison. But when you out in public and you are part of the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, you should always behave as someone is watching you. I learned this a long time ago. Act as if Christ is watching you right now. There is an angel recording every single thing that you do. Every single thing that you do. You got your right hand and your left hand side. Right hand side, yeah, he went to camp. Yeah, he taught class. Yeah, he studied today. Yeah, he conducted himself honorably today. Yeah, but he watched porn. Those are the things you want to stay away from. When you in public, when you in public or when you in secret, act as though someone is watching you. So they can only speak evil of you, but they can't speak evil of your ways. They can't say you was acting a fool in public. They can say, hey man, them guys in that Israelite School Universal Practical Knowledge, those dudes with those Magundawa dies or those Shield of Davids, I don't understand what they talking about or what they do, but when they come in public, they act honorably. These people tip well. They're kind. They have respect. Don't give anybody any reason to say anything negative of your actions or what you do, right? Publicly or privately. You should always conduct yourself as if someone is watching you. Conduct yourself as if Commander Junior Hunter was right in your face. Act like that. If you can't picture God watching you or angel or Christ watching you, act as though the brothers you go around and be all con out of one con and shalom, how about shit. You do all that around? Right. Be that same person outside the school. Right. Conduct yourself as if the book is open, even when you don't have the book open and it's closed. Right. I yield.
If I could, I'm gonna get wrap it up in a second. We get one last few precepts. We get James chapter 1, verse 12.
Where you going now? Oh boy. James. 1 and 12. Oh, Peter, ain't it? Yeah. The book of James, chapter 1, verse 12. Blessed is the man that endureth temptation. For when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him.
That what?
That love him.
That love him. Huh. Okay, so how do you love the Most High? By keeping all the law, statutes, and commandments, right?
Yeah.
Keep going.
Verse 13. Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God. For God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. Then when lust have conceived, it bringeth forth sin.
Bringeth forth sin. Keep going.
And sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death.
Read verse 16, and then I'm gonna talk about 15.
Do not err, my beloved brethren.
So I want to touch on that last part of 15 where it says it bring it. So just all of 15, right? Where it says, then when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin.
Right.
Meaning when you feed into your flesh, you're weak, you fall into temptation, right? It bringeth forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death. Meaning what? We talk about this a lot in school, right? The demon has a job. It's to break you.
Right.
It's to make you sin. It's to cause you to die. That's pretty much what it is.
Right.
So if you give in to this demon, you ever have that feeling like you got an urge to do? We all have temptation. You might be a brother and you struggle with, I don't know, pornography, something, right? And then you struggling, you like, and finally you give into it. Next thing you know, I ain't trying to paint a picture, but you done. And then,
that's crazy.
You done. But you done. And then all of a sudden you feel Salakia. But all of a sudden you feel this like feeling of like regret.
Disgusting.
Like you're just that's the perfect word. You feel like disgusted with yourself. Because deep down in your spirit, you like, that was just wrong. Like it's a different kind of dirty. Like you're not physically it's different. It's a different kind of dirty. That's because the demon suffered you temptation,
right?
And you fell for it. And now he's like, all right, I'm out. That's it.
That's crazy.
The demon did his job. That was it. Now you might be thinking, okay, well, I'm not dead because it says right here, when it is finished, bring it forth death. You ain't gonna die from that, right? Well, there's different ways to die. You can die physically, you can die spiritually. You might be physically alive,
right? But
now you're addicted to porn. You're so addicted now that you don't even want to talk to women. You rather go home and handle your business over there. Now you're depressed.
Right.
You may want kids. Can't have no kids because you can't have a stable relationship with a woman.
Right.
Because you're so busy on this. Now you had that porn addiction for a year, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years. You're 45 years old, still in the room, handling your business,
bro.
And now you're so sad because you're like, man, I can't get over this. That's the demon killing you right there. Spiritually, things like the Lord said, be fruitful and multiply. You can't do that if you're doing that.
Multiplying in your hand.
That's a crazy statement.
Wow.
But my point being is like, there's different ways to kill you.
Right.
That is death. Because eventually, you're going to be X amount of years old. You ain't got no lineage. You ain't got no lineage because that's what you were addicted to.
Right.
The alcohol might not kill you right away. You an alcoholic, keep going. Mm-hmm. Now you start getting, you got to get your stomach pumped. You start getting ulcers.
Right.
Right. You start getting, I don't know.
Liver damage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Your liver is destroyed at that point. Your liver is what processes all that stuff. Now you got kidney failure. You on medication. Now you really are dying physically.
You dying.
Now you're really dying.
Right.
That's the whole point. But the demons keep getting at you.
Right.
I'm sad. I'm a drink. I'm stressed out. I'm a drink. Now there's nothing wrong with drinking, but they say too much of a good thing can be bad for you. Now that's what it says in what I believe it's 1 Peter 5:8, where it says, "Be ye sober, be vigilant, for your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, cometh you to devour." I'm paraphrasing. So my point being is like, yeah, it's in the drink. Compressed straight wine. That's cool. But now you're doing it so much, it's causing you to die.
You're depending on the drink.
Right?
Your faith is now in the drink.
Yeah, your faith is a bottle.
Your faith is not in the Lord. And because your faith is not in the Lord, you suffer. Because you suffer, you're depressed. Because you're depressed, you die.
Right? It says, do not err, my beloved brother.
Do not err.
Don't do it. Right? But all in all, we're going to wrap up the class. All in all is endure to the end. That's really what it's about. Endure to the end. You're going to get tested. You're going to get that trial by fire. And you might get hit with something like, man, I don't know if I can get through this.
Right.
Your faith, like the Lord is going to test you. The Lord is going to test your faith. The Lord is going to test your faith. The Lord is going to test your love. The Lord is going to test your brotherhood. The Lord is going to test your sisterhood. there might be a time where brothers may need you, and you like, man, I'm tired. I don't want to do this. That brother needed you. Time of need, you turn your back.
So what you think the Lord gonna do to you in your time of need, in your time of affliction? The Lord will recompense you back what you gave to another brother. How you say you love the Lord, but you don't love your brother that you see every day? You turn your back on the brother, guess what? The Lord is gonna turn his back on you. And that day, you're gonna know how it feels. Yeah.
When Christ come back, he gonna look at you like, who are you?
I never knew you.
I never knew you.
You didn't feed me when I was hungry. That's in the scriptures. That's in the scriptures. Those people asked him, when did I see you? When did I feed you? He was like, man, when I was hungry, when I was homeless. At those moments when it's not physically Christ, but what you showing is brotherhood towards Christ.
Right.
You save your brother, it's like you saving Christ. You spit on your brother, it's like you spitting on Christ. There you go. And when Christ come back and chop your head off, you can't blame him.
Yeah, you can't blame him. So, that's all we got for that. The water for everybody that tuned in. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. We're going to continue pushing out this truth. And of course, the whole message of this lesson is endure.
Right.
Endure the temptation, endure the fire. That's what we here for. We have brotherhood and sisterhood here. You're not alone. You're not alone.
Right.
You're gonna go through stuff. There's brothers and sisters who went through many different things. We talk about brothers who were being in prison, but they still had faith. There's nothing above the Lord. Remember, at one point, was it Sarah? Sarah was old. Mm-hmm. Sarah was old.
That's not my favorite scripture.
Yeah, I always go because it's so much to take from that one.
Yeah.
Sarah was really old, man, and they told her like, "Yeah, you gonna have a kid." You know what she did?
Right.
And then guess what the Lord did? The Lord said, "Is something funny?" like he looked like Lord, like something funny. You think that I can't make that possible?
Right.
And then born Isaac, which means he laughs. Full circle. But with that, just have faith, endure, and stay in this truth. No matter what, stay in this truth.
Right.
That's all I got. So with that, we close the class.
Shalom.